Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Just wanted to take a moment to talk about the ending of a show called You. You may have heard of it. There's going to be spoilers in this because I have some things to talk about. I found it to be an incredibly engaging, awesome, addicting show that ended up having a really anticlimactic ending, if I'm perfectly honest with you. The problem I have with the way that the show ended is that you can tell that it was my generation that wrote this, because everyone kind of got what they deserved instead of the way it kind of should have went. Everything ends all nice and neat. The bad guy ends up in jail. All the good people get what they want. Everybody moves on and has nice, happy lives, and the bad guy who did all these bad things ends up having to spend the rest of his life in prison all by himself. And that's, that's a problem, because that's a problem from the perspective of it's people who are my generation and later. Because I'm at the very beginning of the millennial generation. I grew up during the early 80s and, early and late 80s to 90s. And I grew up during the time when we were going through that whole propaganda thing about how life can be great and you can be whatever you want to be and you should follow your dreams and this, that, and the other thing. And it seemed, my generation, I think, was the one that got it, who believed it the hardest, because we were indoctrinated into that whole thing just before the internet really became something major. And before we could have access to all the kinds of information that would allow us to realize that, yeah, that's not how the world really is. Everybody in my generation especially just kind of believes that we'll be able to get what we want, we'll be able to get what we desire, and that's kind of how the show ended. Everybody kind of got what they wanted except for the one person who clearly didn't deserve it. The reality is far more cruel, because life is full of circumstances where bad people do bad things and get away with it, and get away with it forever. They never get the kind of justice that they're supposed to get. And I personally feel like the way that the ending of the show happened is indicative of the fact that it's my generation that wrote that stuff. Because earlier generations understood that life isn't always fair. I got a bug in here. Life isn't always fair. Sometimes the bad guy wins. A lot of times the bad guy wins. And a more satisfying ending would have been one where the protagonist slash antagonist, whatever you want to call him, he was the bad guy and the main character. It would have been more satisfying if he actually ended up like killing Bronte, got away with everything, took Kate's money and power, and ended up like taking over everything. Now, that's not the feel-good Disney ending that a lot of people would have wanted, but it would have been more in keeping with the way the show was, because he spent 5 seasons worth of stories getting away with murder, and it seems kind of weird. Well, I mean, I guess everybody kind of gets caught in the end. I guess that's the thought process behind everything, but the reality is that that's not how it works. Not everybody doesn't get caught. A lot of people get away with things forever. They are good at keeping, especially once you get access to, resources and money and power and all of these things, it becomes exponentially easier to get away with things. So I feel like if he had ended on top and the show kind of ended with this, vague, you don't know what's going to happen in the future because he got away with it and he's in power now and he's going to continue being the person that he is, and everyone else ended up falling by the wayside because of it. I feel like that would have been a more appropriate ending to this particular story, because the ending just really clashes against the story as it went as a whole. He spent 5 seasons getting away with murder, 5 seasons being a step ahead of everybody. And then at the end, he gets taken down by some girl who changes her mind at the last minute. I don't know. I feel like our generation, my generation, and probably the later generations too, are too brainwashed with the idea of justice and everybody needs to get what they deserve for that kind of an ending to have actually been how the story finished. And it's just kind of frustrating, because it's like, I would have been more satisfied if he had been killed. If she had just pulled the trigger and killed him in the end. That would have been a better ending, because at least then he got what he visited on other people. He was killed, and it stays within the theme of how the show was, versus he goes to jail and has to spend the rest of his life reflecting. People like that don't learn lessons. They just don't. I mean, he was very clear at the end that he didn't learn his lesson. He's just upset that the circumstances worked out the way they worked out, and he thought he should have been able to get away. So, in my personal opinion, I said before my wife and I watched that last episode that the best endings for me would be the one where either he gets killed in the end, in some kind of crazy shootout or something, or he gets away with it. He kills whoever he needs to kill, and he either vanishes off into the sunset to continue his life of killing, or maybe he takes over Kate. Maybe he kills Kate and somehow takes over her power and rises up in status there, and the show ends that way. That would have been a far more interesting and satisfying ending than everyone got what they wanted and the bad guy got punished the right way. Got punished. Like, that's not the kind of show it was, and it's not the kind of ending I wanted for it. So I just wanted to say that I'm super disappointed with the way that show particularly ended. I really wish that they had put a little bit more... I wish they had been a little bit more, I guess, risque with it. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but the tone of the show was far darker than the way they ended it, and their need to end it on a positive note, I feel like, just kind of betrayed the rest of the story. And that's just how I feel about it. So I just wanted to put that out there. My wife and I were super addicted to that show, and then now it's just tainted with this ending that I don't know. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say about it. Hit the like button, subscribe if you agree. Hit the like button if you agree, subscribe if you like the content that I produce here occasionally. I only make videos when I have something to talk about, so there won't be like a regular publishing schedule. If I don't make a video for 2 or 3 months, it's because I haven't seen anything that inspired me to want to say anything. So don't unsubscribe, just hang out, and when I make a new video will come out. So yeah, hit the subscribe button, help us reach 1,000 subscribers. You can... I have another spiel for my other channel. I keep trying to go into it. So that's it for that. Thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you for the next one.